Assalamu alaikum students. In this lesson I will describe about different types of joints. So joints are the place of connection where two bones meet with one another. So here is a joint. Here are two joints. One is here and one is here. Here are different types of joints. First, I will describe about the immovable or fixed joints. Such joints allow no movement, for example, the joints between the skull bones. The next one is slightly movable joints. Such joints allow movements, for example, the joints between the vertebrae. Next, I will describe about the movable joints, which are shoulder joints, hip joint, elbow joint, and knee joints. There are many types of movable joints in body. The main types are hinge joints and ball and socket joints. The hinge joints move back and forth like the hinge on a door and allow movements in one plane only. So here is a hinge joint between these two bones, which is an elbow. And here are two hinge joints between these two bones, which are knee bones. One is here and second one is here. It is also an example of hinge joint. The ball and socket joints allow movement in all directions. For example, the hip bone that is located here and the shoulder bone. I have discussed about the immovable joints and slightly movable joints. And now I will discuss about tendons and ligaments. Tendons and ligaments are bands of connective tissue made of collagen. Tendons are tough bands and attach muscle to the bone. When a muscle contracts, tendon exerts a pulling force on the attached bone, which moves as a result. Ligaments are strong but flexible bands and join one bone to another. They prevent dislocation of bones at joints. And now I will describe about muscles and movement. We know that when bones move at joints, they produce movements. The movements in bones are brought about by the contractions of skeletal muscles which are attached with them by pushing by tendons. The role of skeletal muscles is as one end of a skeletal muscle is always with some immovable bone, and this end of muscle is called the origin. And here you can watch the origin of biceps. And the immovable fixed end of a muscle connects to a bone at the origin. Other end of a muscle is attached with a movable bone and it is called insertion. And here you can watch the insertion of biceps. With contraction, insertion pulls towards the origin and can have more than one of each. When a muscle is stimulated by a nerve impulse, it contracts to become shorter and thicker. Due to this contraction, it pulls the movable bone at insertion. And here, due to the contraction, insertions pulls toward the origin. Next, I will discuss about the antagonists. Skeletal muscles are usually in pairs of antagonists. In an antagonistic pair, both muscles of the body work in opposite direction. For example, if one muscle will contract, the other will relax. When one muscle contracts, the other relaxes, and this phenomena is known as antagonism, or you can say antagonistic action. When a muscle contracts and bends the joint, it is known as flexor. The muscle will be flexor muscle and the movement is called flexion. Here you can watch the biceps contraction and triceps relaxation, and the process will be flexion. And in another example, there is extension. Biceps relaxes and triceps contracts. When a muscle contracts and straightens the joint, it is known as extensor. The muscle will be extensor and the movement is called extension. The biceps is a flexor muscle on the front of the upper arm bone, while the triceps is an extensor muscle on the back of the arm. Both these muscles have their origin at pectoral girdle and insertion at one of the two bones of forearm. When biceps contract, the forearm insertion end is pulled upward. It is the flexion of elbow joint. During flexion, triceps muscles relaxes. When triceps muscle contracts, forearm is pulled downward. It is the extension or at elbow joint. During it, biceps muscle relaxes. In this way, biceps and triceps make up an antagonistic pair of muscles. Similar pairs working antagonistically across other joints provide for almost all the movements of skeleton. Both biceps and triceps were working in opposite direction or opposite jobs were done by these antagonistic muscles. And I'm sure that there is no confusion about biceps, triceps, flexion, and extension. I will describe the tasks for home in my next video lesson with disorders of skeletal system. Thank you and have a nice day.